Really? It's time to enjoy myself. So I'm sitting in here with my StarCraft and my sweets and my water, so I'm basically as happy as a pig in sugar. I'm going to hotkey over to the next game as well, because no sense in waiting around. There we go. It is game time. And this is going to be the final game, come what may, so let me sort out my overlay. In the bottom right hand corner, we have Project spawning in as the Brown Terran. And in the bottom left hand corner, we have Mazur spawning in as the White Protoss. And ooh, need to change the colour on the overlay. But I can do that even without you guys seeing what's going on. So the score is now tied at 2-2. And that is cool, because that means we get all the tension of a final match. And this is for everything. This match, winner takes all. And of course, at stake right here is pride and self-respect. And what could be more important after all? These guys are Brood War players. It's all about pride and self-respect. And the women, obviously. It's all about the chicks. So, a Project, once again, obviously laying down a supply depot, but in his base this time, so it's not going to be, probably not going to be fast expand oriented. Although it might be, it still might be. We did see him lay down the barracks a little bit later, at some point, in his natural, and make a fast expand out of it, but probably not going to be doing that, as we've seen that fast expanding doesn't work, not fast expanding does work, so I expect him to stick with that paradigm for the moment. While nothing's going on, it is time for me to take a sip of my water. Please excuse me for just a second while I do that. Imagine sneaking a cheeky bite to my shortbread as well. Look at that. Okay, so back to business. Probes are mining, SCVs are doing stuff, and it is going to be a fast expand from the other side of things. So Mazur really taking the opportunity to mix it up right here. And this is cool, because the map is, of course, circuit breakers. And I often like to fast expand on this map as well. Maybe it's just because of the way my strategy plays out, but we'll have a look at the overall map here. And I'm going to reveal basically how I play circuit breakers to everybody right here on stream. So everybody, if anyone finds themselves playing against me in any kind of competition, just completely forget that I told you that this is what I do in PvT on circuit breakers. I try to get this fast expand down. And then what this means is it allows me to get a big mid-game army up and get the pressure piled on, because what Terran often does is they push out to a third base pretty damn early. And if this fast expand comes off, what you can often do is you can pretty much expedite your speed lot production and get a good number of Dragoons up beforehand as well, so then you can mount a really solid solid mid-game push onto the Terran's early third and do an absolute ton of damage. That's just how I do it, and we'll see what Mazur has in mind here. But that can work out really well, and that's why I fast expand on this map. Simply because of that Terran early third that they always seem to take. Out comes Mr. Marine. He is defending, he is tough, he is mean. So he's going to stand firm. And the SUV, it is going to be a fast expand. So that's crazy. We're seeing fast expands from both sides of the coin. But of course, not too much of a biggie, because Mazur is fast expanding, so Project kind of should be fast expanding as well. And this first Marine is going to go in to do a little bit of damage. And will we see a bunker perhaps? No, we won't see a bunker. Oh, and he might be able to actually get a probe here. It looks like he will definitely be getting that probe. And these probes are actually forced to pull back. Oh no, but doing a nice little bit of drilling. And they do manage to take out Mr. Marine without too much ado. Oh, and he might actually lose another probe here to the SUV, but Project not able to micro that guy down. Not for want of trying, of course. And a first Zealot pops out and does see away any kind of more rubbish like this. And that Marine's progress across the map will probably be halted. Yes, it is, and it decides to pull back instead. Very sensible. Marines not so hot against Zealots, obviously. So loading his guys into the bunker at the front, and really wanting to see how Mazur plays this, because I know it can often be a little bit frustrating when you fast expand and then you find Terran fast expanded as well, because it just kind of puts you level. It doesn't really get you that lead that you really crave when you do a 12 next. Because why else would you do a 12 next after all if you weren't trying to get a crazy lead? So this is probably going to be able to do a little bit of a run by of the bunker. Nope, it's actually a little bit too scared. We can see the shield getting whittled away pretty quickly there. So there's just having a little bit of a poke in, seeing what the deal is. Seeing that the deal is indeed fast expand deal, and out come the Dragoons, making their way over to the Terran main, and not doing too well on the range upgrade, so it's going to be a little while yet before he can start hacking away at this wall. He can probably chill out here with unranged Dragoons and force the barracks back at the very least. I'm curious to see where the Marines pop out. Okay, they do pop out underneath the barracks, that's okay. But he does position his Dragoons down here, so he will be able to have a bit of a pop at the barracks. The barracks, very sensibly, is floated backwards into the relative safety of the bunker. Oh, and Mazur actually takes the opportunity to try and do a little bit of a run by, and will this come off? Just comes off. I feel that Project would have been much better served in drilling these guys on the ramp just a little bit right now, but he does of course now have a moderate Protoss force in his base. If Mazur micros this correctly, it could be pretty effective, but it looks like it's going to get shut down pretty nicely. Project doing a very handy job of defending himself there. SCV's really very good against Protoss stuff, getting a nice surround and managing to get rid of one of the Dragoons instantly. So that puts Project actually in a pretty nice position. He can lose Marines pretty much all day and only loses 2 as it is. And that siege tank does pop out, so Mazur losing a fair number of units for the privilege of just having a wee bit of a poke in there. I guess if nothing else, those guys were a decent little bit of a scout, but still, I don't really know if it was worth it. I guess we'll find out as the game progresses, and we'll see if Mazur loses because of it or not. Of course, what you have to be aware of when you're playing this mighty game of Brood War is that even the small mistakes like that, it can all add up to being one pretty major disaster. If you make lots of small mistakes over the course of a game, then you're going to find yourself falling way short of your opponent, especially when your opponent is as damn fine as Project undoubtedly is. So Mazur really needs to play a little bit more carefully now. That Vulture managing to take away a probe as it makes its way across the map, but it will get taken out itself as comeuppance from the Protoss Dragoons. Laying down an engineering bay at the Protoss third base. Well, I guess this isn't really the third base. The third base would be down here or hereabouts. Unless, of course, he would choose to make it here instead, because, of course, there is another route around here where the Terran can push. You can just go straight down here and then down a ramp into a base here. Then straight back up the other side. So maybe that would be a better idea, to throw down another base at this position. Project preparing for that, blocking the hell out of that Nexus just as well as he can. That engineering bay is now going to float over. I'm not quite sure what his plan is with this. I guess he's going to wander on into the expansion a little bit. Or he's just going to chill with it. Okay, he's just going to chill with it over here. And I guess that's going to be able to keep an eye on this base as well quite effectively. So those vultures just sitting here for some reason, I guess, making sure there's no probes building any pesky pylons or anything of the kind. And it looks like Project is sizing up for a decent kind of mid-game push, producing up a couple of extra factories as well. So this makes a good bit of sense. Not really mining too much gas right now, so I guess not ready to produce that many siege tanks just yet. But you'll probably be adding 1 or 2 more SCVs onto that geyser in due course. And I said geyser really weirdly then. Geyser. Can't quite explain that. Oh, but excuse me, we do have a Reaver dropping in to the back of Project's base, so that could do some decent damage. Nicely positioned missile turret up already, however, and 1 or 2 more being made. I'm sure. Oh, he probably should have dropped in here first, because that would have been basically super effective. That siege tank will see Mr. Reaver off for the time being, and that SCV jumps straight back onto the command center, very sensibly. So that shuttle doing its wandering around thing is going to keep looking for weaknesses, and this probably isn't going to be able to go too far, given that there is a siege tank chilling right there. It does get 1 nice shot off on a whole bunch of siege tanks, and this might just be able to get another shot off. Probably not, no. Those Dragoons do allow, that shuttle rather does allow the Dragoons to have vision up the ramp, of course, up the cliff rather. So Mazur opting for a pretty gateway-heavy mid-game, also getting that Citadel before he even gets his third base laid down. We do see that's just another pylon. I'm not quite sure what I thought that was for a second there. So interested to see how this progresses. I think that Mazur should be in quite a nice spot here, because he hasn't gone crazy on the gateways. He's getting up 4 gateways, which is quite a high number, but he is getting that Nexus, and that Nexus is not too badly delayed. So whilst Project is going to be doing a mid-game push, and yes, Mazur did throw away a couple of units in the early game, that really doesn't matter too much, because it was 2 Dragoons and a Zealot. Slightly frustrating, but not too much of a big deal. And Mazur should be in a decent enough position to hold off against this push. He should have Zealot speed coming up relatively soon. There we go, we do see the upgrade begin just as I highlight it. And 4 gateways on the way too. But that's probably not the best idea. Just out of range of that siege tank. That must have been very, very close indeed. Managing to get rid of one lone marine, which was straying a bit too far from the bunch. And Project now pushing onwards and upwards to his third base. And this is exactly the kind of thing I was talking about. I'm actually really interested to see that Mazur does something very, very similar to what I was mentioning as the game begun. And this is, of course, how Circuit Breaker plays out. So you have to tailor your play to suit how the Terran plays and to try and beat it. It's not enough just to kind of keep trying to take more bases and stay even. It's much better to try and actually beat the Terran as you go along rather than just taking it further and further into the game, because of course Terrans can be pretty hard to out macro when it gets super late. Oh, nice bit of a Zealot bomb there. Managed to take out 2 tanks at once, really pretty smart. And that's exactly the kind of thing which will help him if he tries to push in there at any point. Now producing pretty much pure Zealots out of those gateways, given that he's managed to preserve his strong backbone of Dragoons. Going in for a little bit more of a poke, but that's not going to be doing too much. Given that there is a siege tank quite well positioned here. He should be able to do some nice harass though. If he drops in back here, he would be able to take out these mines with one well-placed Scarab onto that Vulture, and would then be able to have a good crack at all those SCVs too. They are of course pretty nicely stacked up on all these minerals as well. So we'll see if he decides to take that opportunity up at any point, leaving the Reaver back there however. And it looks like he is possibly going to try and bulldog his way in here. Sorry. But taking so many probe losses at this base. My god, my voice is just absolutely dying. But instead he decides to go in for a bit of an attack here, and this looks like a horrible, horrible decision, losing so many Dragoons. Oh my goodness, so much blue blood, and that could well be the end of the game right there. I mean, obviously it won't be literally the end of the game, but that could well be the thing that kills his chances. And so many probes being lost here too. Those Vultures getting all the kills that they want. So those Vultures doing absolutely uncountable amounts of damage, whilst all the Dragoons fruitlessly threw away their lives at this base as well. So this leaves Project in a lovely position to push along the bottom of the map. And he will be able to very soon be ranging all the way into this base as well. That Observer is now finally able to clear out the last couple of mines sitting in this mineral line. But I don't think he'll be able to hold on to that base for too long. And I really, really don't know what was going through his mind as he tried to do that crazy assault into this base here. Just tried to push all the way in with pretty much pure Dragoons. Absolutely dreadful idea by him. And it looks like actually going in for another bit of an attack here, but he's going to be so easily fended off given that he lost so many of his units. So many of his units trying to go into Project's third base. And now taking up a very strong position down here, he is able to siege onto this this pylon at the very least. So what will he be able to do at this point? I guess he has to try and pull something magical out of the bag. I mean, some really, really superb Zealot bombing could just about do the trick, but I don't know if that would really be enough. Because, of course, his army is just so far behind right now. We can see him sat on 99 supply against 148 for Project. My goodness, that is a massive difference. Getting out into the front of his ramp now, taking back control of the map just a little bit against all these Vultures that are happily roving around. But this base is drastically undersaturated. He really needs to be able to transfer some guys across there, but he, once again, not too oversaturated any of his bases. And I really feel like Mazur is standing on his last legs. I wouldn't even say his last legs, his last one leg. He's already lost one, and he's just kind of desperately staying in this right now. These Zealots might be his last hope to actually do any real damage to the army of Project, which is now pushing irrevocably onwards and upwards through his fourth base, onwards into his third. Could be some nice Zealot bombs happening here. But they basically rely on the rest of the tanks being sieged up, and of course they are not. So that's going to be relatively ineffectual. And these tanks are probably actually going to get caught out here pretty unnecessarily. I'm not quite sure why Project saw fit to leave those guys in, but they will get taken down. Managing to take one Zealot with them as well. But what an army Project has right now. Look at all that stuff. Look at all those Vultures with plenty of tanks behind him just for fun. and macroing off so many factories. Oh my god, look at that. He has like 6 factories just producing vultures. So that's going to be super, super scary if you're Mazur. And Mazur, with a tiny, tiny army, is once again forced back. And it looks like this is going to be the last gasp before the Protoss project moving in. And he will be able to take this down off Mazur after going behind 2-0 after some really, really nicely played games by Mazur. Project will be able to take this down, just destroying the remnants of Mazur's army. And that is undoubtedly going to be it. GG from Mazur. Project winning the set 3-2 overall. So well played by both of these players there, and I'm going to give you back to my overlay. Really, really sweet. And we do see Project for the win.